Right, so today we're going to do some paint stripping on the Datsun build. Now, if you've been following the build on the channel, you'll know that we got the shell sandblasted, but we didn't bother getting any of the panels done because the panels were like 65 quid each. And this paint stripper here is only £40 for 5 litres. So, you know, even if we use a couple of bottles of this, we'll still save ourselves some money. So yeah, if this was a couple of years ago, you'd have just gone and got some nitromos, you'd have poured it on, you'd have pulled the paint off, happy days. But about 2 years ago, the EU changed some laws with 2 of the chemicals that are in nitromos, and last time I used it, it was pretty shit. So, found this one online. Everyone says it's pretty nasty stuff. You got to like sign a disclaimer when you buy it, so it must be pretty decent. So yeah, today we're going to find out. We'll start on the bonnet today because it's a nice flat panel, and we can find out if this works. Right, so I've got the bonnet on the panel stand in the doorway just to give it a bit of ventilation. Now, before we put the paint stripper on, we know it's got a fair few coats of paint on from when the blaster did it, because he had issues with the shell. So what we're going to do just before we put the stripper on, we're going to take the standing knife and I'm just going to gouge some lines into the paint just to help the stripper get down inside. Right, so I just put some scratches in it. It's like a crisscross pattern. Now you can see it's got quite a few layers of primer on, and then it used to be yellow before, but this car's been in a barn since the 80s anyway, so I think the guy, you know, just kept refreshing it with coats of primer, hoping he was going to get onto it one day. So hopefully that's enough and it just comes off nice and easy, because I cannot be bothered. Alright, so it made light work of that, but that could have just been because it's a shit primer, or it wasn't bonded to the surface very well. It did start to take it down to the metal in some areas, but what I'll do now is put another coat on, same process, scratch it up, put a thick coat on, and then we'll see if it touches this yellow stuff. Also, get in the comments and we'll make Liam paint it back yellow, because I love yellow cars if you've seen the RX-7, and he don't want to paint it yellow, but it needs to be yellow. So this stuff's pretty good. It took a little bit longer on the yellow paint. Obviously that's probably been on for 40 odd years since it was built, since I think most of the panels on this car were factory yellow. So this has probably been on about 10-15 minutes, but it's pretty therapeutic to watch, to be honest with you. You can just hear it bubbling away, and then it just obviously starts. The time lapses probably come up pretty well because it just sort of spreads all over the bonnet. So what we'll do now is same thing again. We'll get the scraper on it, scrape off all the excess, and then there's a few sort of dry patches, like around here and that. They'll probably just need another coat going over, and then we'll get the green wheeler def out. So I'll probably use this 3M wheel that we used on the rear quarter and stuff. I'll just go around the edge of that, and then we'll get the remaining excess off, and then we should be good. Right, so most of the bonnet is down to metal now, and for a nearly 50-year-old bonnet, that's pretty decent. But you know, this shows the reason why we're doing it. So it's probably had a dint on the front end at some point. It's got a bit of body filler in there, and also some rust. So obviously it's probably started to form some rust when they've put body filler on, and it's not been sealed off with epoxy or, you know, paint in time, and then the paint, the rust gets in underneath, and eventually it'll start to bubble the paint off. So we don't want to be, you know, spending hours and hours on the shell and painting in it, and only for that rust to eventually bubble the paint off. So that's why we're going to bare metal on everything. It is a longer process, but it's definitely worth it in the end. So what I'll do to this now is a little bit more. It's typically around the edges, because you don't go too thick with the paint strip around the edges, because obviously it's all going to drip on the sides. So a little bit more, tidy that up, and then we should be able to see just how bad sort of this front area is. Right, so as you see, we just give it a little jet wash just to clean it off, because I couldn't be arsed just standing here for ages scraping all the little bits off. But this is what we're left with. Now, pretty happy with that. Definitely recommend this Starchum paint stripper. Obviously, things for yourself, works a treat. All the way down to bare metal. We could do the edges and all these little bits that are left, but you know, it's not worth. You're gonna have to do some body work anyway, some sanding. So a little run over with a DA, and that'll get that down. But I'll probably do that off camera, and then obviously I've got the 2 wings to do, 2 doors and the rear hatch, but we'll do them another time, because I'm not going to bore you with just doing the same process over and over again. You can catch them in one of the future videos. I'll just give you an update. But yeah, that's going to be it for today. Thoroughly recommend this paint stripper, and if you want to see the Datsun build progress, obviously we're putting a RB25 in it, if you've not seen, so hopefully that'll be getting done a lot quicker. Last year we were slowed down quite a lot, but we're looking at getting a video out a week now. So yeah, if you want to keep up, hit the subscribe button. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.